Absolutely.
Alrighty, this is John here. We are going to be removing this strut out of this '06 Colorado behind me. We're going to disassemble it and then reinstall it, because that's what we do here. We love it. Alrighty, what we're going to need to do is, as you can see, I already got the tire off. Next thing we're going to have to do here, I'm not sure if you can see, I'm going to try to angle it for you, is next thing we're going to try to do is get this inner sway bar link off so we have room to swing our strut assembly out. We're going to remove our lower retaining bolt and nut. And then we have 3 mounting nuts on top that we need to take out to remove this strut assembly from the vehicle. So let's go ahead and get started. Sway bar link nut. Go ahead and kind of use one hand to depress the sway bar link a little bit so it makes it easier for you to remove the link from its hole, trying to save the threads as much as possible. Sometimes you can get lucky and you don't have to get a wrench on the other side, but preferably you do want a wrench on the stud side of this bolt and nut setup for the strut. And then what you're going to do is go ahead and use your wrench, or however best you can get to your top 3 mounting bolts, and go ahead and get them loose. Remember, I did leave the stud in the bottom just in case the strut wants to do something kind of funky. You do have some sort of mounting bases still in play. One, two, and just one more. Alright, number 3. Alright, next, as you can see, our strut you can now move in place where you couldn't before. What we're going to want to do is adjust our lower area here, control arm, and see what we can do about moving it around so we can get this stud out without eating up the threads. Bam. And then once we have all the pieces moved, we go ahead and turn our wheel all the way towards the passenger side, giving us as much room on this side as possible. And we're going to go ahead and just slide it up and out of position. Lift up to give us a little bit more room and just slide our strut right on it. And bam! We now have a strut assembly in hand and off the car. And just give us 1 second and we'll be right over onto the strut tamer for disassembly. My name is John over here at J-Tech. What we're going to do today is we are going to disassemble this strut that we've taken out of this '06 Chevy Colorado. Alright, first we're going to do is mount it into our strut tamer here that we have already done ahead of time, lucky us. We're going to make sure our clamps here are tight. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a little bit of load on here until we can move the shock absorber inside the strut assembly. So we're compressing the coil spring so that we can move the shock absorber freely inside of here to get this top nut off. So we can remove the shock absorber assembly from the whole strut itself. Alright, we're going to go ahead and apply some tension. Being careful because this is obviously a lot of force that we're compressing, because this is where people lose faces. It's not fun. Alright, I got the shock absorber here loose, as you can hear. And then I'm going to use my impact to remove this top nut here so I can remove the shock absorber from the whole strut assembly itself. I got my washer. Noted the same size and nut, same direction as well. Go ahead, pull my shock absorber out of this strut assembly. Go ahead and take off this dust cover and rubbers. Go ahead and examine the rod itself and make sure everything is in proper working order. No obvious anything this, that, or the other. Mount up top comprised of a clock rubber, which has to be put on exactly in such a way, otherwise it will not mount properly. Then you have your strut mount top cap, complete with rubber, which does come off, as you can see. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and slap this bad boy right back together. Go ahead and get this top, go ahead and get it clocked properly. Shove our shock absorber right back on through. Make sure it gets clocked down here at the bottom like we did up here at the top, otherwise it will not go in properly. Then go ahead and put our rubber in up top, our washer facing the appropriate direction, and same thing with our nut, the exact same direction. Go ahead and get it started in a couple threads. That way it's already there and held. Say the strut chamber were to let free, you already have it at least somewhat contained, and it's only going to go so far. What you may also have to do if the nut spins is you may have to work it by hand, which is not always the funnest thing in the world to do, but hey, it is. You got to do what you got to do. Life is life. Having a right wrench though helps. I'm not gonna lie. Right wrenches do help. And you don't want to make it too tight, but you don't want to make it too loose either. You want to have a good, nice, solid deal. Now that our struts are all put back together, we can go ahead and relieve the tension that we've put on this spring, so we can go ahead and make sure everything's set back the way it's supposed to. Alright, and that'll be it for now. We're going to go ahead and slap this puppy right back on and see how she works. Thank you. I am John at JTech, class of 22. Thank you and have a great day. Hey, it's John over here at JTech. Remember that strut we took apart, put back together? Putting it back in the truck now. First off, we're going to have to wiggle it up and in here and be just ever so gentle and just so nice to it. Favorite phrase I heard growing up was, you gotta hold your tongue right. So, I've gotten it into position. I'm about to move it up and in so I can go ahead and start my top 3 mounting bolts into the top, like so, or at least one, get it started. That way I go ahead and have it nice. So I can go ahead and leave it in place and start my other 2.
He wants to fucking go home early all the time, and he's fucking using that fucking headache shit till like it's...
Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and, once we got the top 3 nuts on, we're going to grab our through bolt for the bottom, line our strut assembly into place, try to get it at least somewhat started. Hold up your lower control arm a little bit to release tension. Use your thumb to keep alignment good. And just wiggle this guy on in. Bam. Put a nut on the other side. And then you go ahead and tighten everything up. What size? 15. Alright, once we got the top down, we're going to go ahead and tighten up our bottom. Preferably from the nut side, so that way You don't spin any possible locking threads or anything of the sort on the bolt itself. And the next thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and reattach your sway bar link. Make sure it gets in and through all the way. Locking nut, very important. If there's a cotter pin, make sure the cotter pin gets replaced as well. And last, go ahead and put your tie rod in right back on in. Put its nut back on. And then tighten it right back up to torque spec as well. Slap your tire back on, get it aligned, and you're good to go. My name is John, and that was removing and installing, disassembling a strut. Thank you.